Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast.
Hello, Archie.
Hello, Steph.
It is Friday. It is time for another trek. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How are you, my friend?
I am well. What an episode we had this week.
Yes, just from this episode and also the preview of the next episode, I think we're in for some crazy times.
Some stellar trek.
Yes, stellar
Some
trek.
seriously good trek.
Stellar trek.
I'm excited.
Yes, this episode was so dope.
Dope.
We got some questions answered. We got some new
We
questions
did.
to ask. Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Well, welcome out there, ladies, gentlemen, and aliens, and all others, to another episode of Set Phasers, a highly illogical Star Trek podcast. Today we will be discussing Season 3, Episode 8, Sanctuary. It is Stardate
Sanctuary.
31204.8.
Someone had to do that.
Yeah, no, it was good that it was you.
I thought it was going to be you.
No, because, I already have trouble. So it's good if you balance. If you're silly, it's a good balance, because then it
We
doesn't
like
seem
the
like
silliness.
I'm a complete fool the whole time. This episode directed by Jonathan Frakes. Frakes himself. Frakesy.
Yep. We did, and what we expect to see from Frakesy is a little bit of emotes, emojis, love,
You're gonna get
hugs, and all that
I
kind
think
of thing.
he got a lot of different emotions in this one.
Yep.
Yeah. It was,
And he does like a little humor, our Frakesy.
Oh, he always gives us a little lightness.
Yes.
A little, a meringue atop the heavy custard of Star Trek Discovery.
Oh God.
Yeah, I've been watching the Great British Baking Show. So
I see you and everyone else.
Yeah.
I see it's
Well,
top
I'm at
in
home.
the Netflix queues.
and I've never seen it before. We don't have to talk about that on this show. That's a different podcast.
That's a
right
different
there.
podcast. Another time.
That's got enough episodes to drive us insane. Okay, so why don't we run this thing down?
How light is your sponge?
It's time to run it down.
Can you run it down for me? What just happened? Can you run it down for me?
This is what happens when I substitute tea for gin on a Friday.
Yeah, it's a little bit claggy. Okay, let's talk about Sanctuary, the episode.
Sanctuary!
Yes, great. You can
Wonder
just
how
do
many
that
times we can do that in an episode.
Oh, easily 1 billion times. Okay, calm down, Burmese. I'm here. I'm ready. Okay, so we begin the episode with Hugh and Georgiou, because remember Georgiou has that her brain is not working right, and she has these fits, and it turns out she's suffering some sort of brain dysfunction that Hugh Culber thinks could drive her mad. She would stop recognizing the faces of people she knows, and maybe even her own face. But Georgiou is, as you can imagine, a prickly patient, and she barely wants help. She's threatening Culber throughout most of his interview with her, and then finally he seems to be able to get her to sit down for like a scan or something like that. Yeah. Michael comes in to check, and Georgiou starts up being angry again. At one point, Dr. Culber says her heart rate is elevated, and Georgiou says it's rage. So she's a great patient. Anyway, Michael makes an exit. She runs into Book. Yeah.
Oh,
In the
yeah.
hallway. Are we going to play? Let's play a little Book.
Book's Lament.
Yeah. Hey, Michael.
I like the way you look.
We need to go to my home planet of Quotable. Yeah.
On your hood.
My brother Kahim has contacted me,
I like the way you swing.
and the chain is coming after them. Oh, yeah.
I am so mad at you that we've been missing out on that
I-
for 7 episodes.
I didn't know that that's how it was going to go. That just occurred to me to do that, and it's great. Anyway,
That we must do that every single time.
that's what he sounds like when he's talking. So that's the basic thing. He has a brother that's like, I guess, not quite a literal brother, from his home planet of Quotable, and apparently Ossyra is threatening the planet, and so needs Book to come there. And Book asks Michael to come, and Michael says it's going to take 2 weeks to get there by warp or trans warp tunnel or whatever. But Disco could go there in a second, so we need help. And so Book goes with Michael and Saru to see Admiral Vance. And Vance is like, oh, I got 50 other star systems that are on the verge of collapse due to things having to do with the burn and their debts to the chain. I don't know that I can spare Disco right now. And Saru actually comes up with the plan to say, listen, maybe we go there as, quote, observers, diplomatically. And we see if Ossyra and the chain wish to talk. And Vance agrees to it, but he's like, hey, you can go purely diplomatic, defensive posture only, and if anything seems dangerous, you jump out of there immediately. Which, of course, no one follows that order. But, hey, whatever.
Have we worked out what the chain is?
The Emerald Chain.
The emerald chain.
The Emerald Chain. No, but she is wearing, well, in the very next scene. Yeah.
You music nerds out there will get this reference. It's almost worth the whole thing.
It's pretty great tune.
It's great.
You should just listen to this.
It's the whole thing.
Just play it for yourself. Woo! So yes, in the very next scene, we go back to Hun Hao, where Book and Michael and Georgiou stage that daring escape.
The Great
and
Escape.
The Great Escape. And it appears that we meet Tolor once again, who ran away when things got tough. And he's explaining himself to Aunt Ossyra, who turns around. Yes.
Were you surprised that Ossyra was a woman?
I was not.
Okay.
Should I have been?
I don't know. There seemed to be such surprise on everyone's face when they see Ossyra for the first time. The bridge crew of the Discovery were
That is
like,
weird.
Whoa.
I feel like I knew that Ossyra was a woman, but I can't remember why.
Oh.
Does he say her nephew? When they first go to Hun Hao, I think Tolor says, I'm
Ossyra's nephew.
Oh, he
There's
doesn't
no
say her.
No, he doesn't say her.
How the heck did I know that?
I
don't know. Maybe I just assumed nobody was going to get things done.
Maybe.
I have no idea, but I liked her reveal. I liked her turnaround, her pitiless eyes boring into Tolor, and she says, "Oh, I miss your father every day." And he goes, "Oh, well, you just had to do what you had to do to keep the chain alive." And she goes, "You remind me of him." And then she transports him into one of the transworm cages. And the transworm, she's like, "Oh, you won't even feel it. Don't be so childish." But it does seem like he does feel it because he's screaming.
Oh,
as
he totally
gets
feels
eaten,
it.
right?
And you can see his legs flying.
Yeah, he's like, "Ah!" as he gets eaten by the evil, beautiful transworm. And then Ossyra's... in that conversation, we find out that Ossyra knows who Book is. And she says, of course, I know who staged this escape. I need to get Rin. And so she hops on her ship, and she goes off somewhere. And that is when we hit the credits. When we return, Saru and Tilly, this is a typical Frakes moment. They're walking down the hallway. Saru's new number one is Tilly, and they're discussing the situation. Are you ready to go? Are we ready to get there? We're ready to jump to Quotable. And she's like, yeah, of course. And he's what's going on with Linus? Like, he's in his quarters until he finishes fully shedding for the next 24 hours. Apparently, Linus has been shedding. And Rin has recovered and wants to talk to Saru. And then Saru says, what about that other matter that we had to work on? And apparently Tilly has been working on coming up with a signature order, I think is what it's called, for Saru. So he doesn't have an engage or a hit it or whatever. But so Tilly's been working on them. The suggestions I wrote down are hit it with a different emphasis than Pike, execute, and manifest. I think those are the three she suggested. They're all pretty bad.
Yeah, they were pretty terrible.
I'm just realizing I didn't write down what it became in my notes, but I remember it. 'cause I
Carry
like this.
On.
Carry On. Yes.
Or was that? Yeah, I thought that was. Yeah, Carry On.
You didn't like
think it
that? I
was.
thought that was very...
It seemed to sit. Well, it certainly sat better than Manifest
Or
and
Execute. Yeah.
But it did seem to be the worst. The best of a bad bunch.
Yeah. I mean, what is Saru doesn't really... What's he going to say? Like, let's do this? Punch it? No. He's not going to say that.
Continue.
I think Carry On is pretty good for him.
Carry On.
He's so, for lack of a better description or analog, very British and polite.
If you
Carry
have
On.
thoughts, then please let us know. We would love to hear what you think his
Do people
command
have
should
suggestions?
be.
I don't get to see
we
the...
don't. We-
Okay.
Yes, we don't at the moment.
All right. Okay.
No one is
well,
suggesting
yes.
anything.
If you think there should be a better, as Steph says, command, then let's hear it. Anyway, so they're working on that. They go into engineering. They meet up with Stamets and Adira, who are working on the signals from the black boxes. They have found the location of the beginning of the burn to a certain extent. It is the Verubin Nebula. And they are hearing a weird signal coming from it that's not just like background microwave radiation. The signal is that melody that we heard the Barzan family singing, and that Adira knows from one of their past hosts, and that's spoiling the next thing. But before we move on to that, they also find out that if they work on that calculation or take out the interference from the nebula, it turns into a Federation distress call, and that apparently there should be an encoded message in that distress call. And so Adira and Stamets need to work on the algorithm to parse out what the encoded message of said distress call would be. But apparently they all think there might be a ship in there that's stuck, that's lost, and that possibly started the burn, which is curious. As they leave, Adira confronts Stamets about pronouns, because Stamets refers to Adira as her several times in the conversation.
She.
And Adira as she.
Yes,
She's
he
really
said
good.
She's really good at this, and she can do this
Her-
algorithm
yeah,
in a
okay.
couple of hours.
Yeah, that's the...
And I thought she was just pissed off because she's like, hey,
It
it's going to
did
take me
seem like
more
that.
than a couple of hours.
But I guess I was thinking about how you were like, I thought we were gonna get a gender non-binary character, and not
I
just an
did ask
actor.
that.
And after you mentioned that in the second episode, it was the Earth one, so the third episode, I did go back and look, and the articles were like a little cagey on that because it was definitely like actor, but I think it was kind of hinting at character. But I guess they decided to reveal it to let it unravel a bit more. Organically, I guess.
Yeah.
Anyway, I thought it was well timed because Adira has been sort of in and out, and there was never enough time to like sort of for Adira to interface with anybody on that level. But now that they have this relationship with Stamets, it seems like the appropriate person to broach that subject with. And they say that no one else had known about that except for Gray, the boyfriend, who also has disappeared of late.
Yes.
No longer hanging around, which, for me, I find the whole dead person lingering in my subconscious so that I can see them in real life terrifying. But hey, whatever. Whatever floats your boat, folks.
Did you manage to watch Ready Room this week with Will Wheaton?
Of course I did not manage to watch a Ready
Oh,
Room this
dear.
week with Will Wheaton.
Well, Will Wheaton.
What did they have to comment on this?
Will Wheaton
Yes.
interviewed Blue Del Barrio and Ian Alexander
Yes.
and discussed Blue's scene coming out as non-binary.
Yeah.
And it was really lovely. And it turned out that Blue at that point was coming out to their family at the same time as having
The
to
actor?
sort of do the scene. Yes.
Oh.
So I think that the scene was really very true for them.
Oh, as they were taping the scene, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. Because
So
I
it's
was
kind
going
of
to
around
say
that
there was a
time.
whole article about it. That would have been.
Yeah.
So presumably they got ahead of the article in
I guess so.
speaking to their family. One would hope. Yes. So where blah, 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 blah. So the disco does the jump to Quotable, and Michael and Book go to the surface, and they find out that Ossyra on her ship, the Viridian, an emerald chain, is 30 minutes out. 30 minutes out and on its way. I also wrote, yeah,
We'll just keep going.
that's good. And Book seems pretty terrified, and they think they can get down there and get into the sanctuary, which apparently has some sort of like electromagnetic protection, so it's hard to communicate through it. But they can get down there and figure out what the situation is and get back maybe before Ossyra gets there, but maybe not. And I wrote, nota bene, Detmer is going through a little like side issue that she's had engineering re-rig her controls because apparently she wasn't into the programmable matter that adjusts to her particular thing. She wanted, quote, safeguards. She said she needed safeguards. And actually Owa Shakun says that before, the only safeguard you needed was you, which I thought was nice. Meanwhile, also Georgiou is getting a more full one might say invasive scan in sickbay with both Dr. Culber and Dr. Pollard there. And we turn the page on my extensive notes. She's upset about her outfit. She says it makes her look like a human-sized sperm. And I guess I wouldn't have thought of that, but when she said it, I couldn't stop seeing it. Anyway, they're going to do like this whole biomolecular nanoscan of her, and so she goes under the scope of that. Meanwhile, Adira and Stamets are in what I assume is the holodeck, because I've never seen a room that had a grand piano and cello in it before. But they're like, I guess they're waiting for the algorithm to work through the material, and it's going to take a couple of hours, and Adira is sort of distracted because of Gray's absence, and Stamets is like, let's just, while we're waiting for these things to come together, let's just play music.
I wonder. So the original Discovery would not have had a holodeck. So is this a new addition now that we have programmable matter?
Oh, could be. I was thinking that too. Maybe they're just like, hey, make a piano for us.
Or they just had a music room put in there.
Yeah. Well, there's the original Discovery was only because of Lorca did it seem like so utilitarian, but it was a scientific vessel.
But
It
if you
wasn't
think about it, but like timing wise, it was before holodecks.
Oh, yes, 100%. Yeah. But I'm saying maybe there was a rec room. I don't know.
Maybe.
Where they would hear
Sure.
music.
Absolutely.
I can think of many
Performance
the
room,
original series episodes. Not many, but enough where there were concerts. Very weird 60s alien music concerts. Go back and look for those episodes, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. So that's what they're doing. Also on the ship, Rin bursts into Saru's office, and Rin says, "Who's the captain? I need to talk to them." And Tilly's like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 whoa. That's not how you do it. Try it one more time with the respect that the seat of captain deserves." She shuts Rin down. Tilly is being a great number one.
She is.
Okay, I don't know. If
Undoubtedly.
okay, yeah. If you were like, I don't know. I think so. Anyway.
No, she won't.
Rin's like, I need to get out of here. And then they're like, sure, we can leave you on the planet. It's Quotable down there. And also Ossyra's on the way. She'll be here in 15 minutes. So we could just drop you off here if you think that's cool. And then he's like, what? Huh? So Book and Michael down on the planet. They enter the, quote, sanctuary.
Sanctuary!
Yes.
Should have made an FX for that, but I can do it.
Really,
in
I
real
mean,
life.
it's just great that you do it live. And
Would have added like reverb. Sanctuary!
That's pretty good.
Thanks.
Man, if you're listening at home, you're probably like, what a sumptuous oral experience this is.
Oh, yeah.
Between the chain and the book song and Sanctuary.
I used to be able to do like the owl thing. But I haven't.
I was never able to do that. And I
But
went to
thankfully,
summer
there are
camp
no
for
owls
13
sounds
years.
required.
Well, work on it because you don't
Yep,
know.
I will.
Book talks to everything. There could be trance owls.
Later.
Okay, yeah. No, I'm not saying you got to do it now.
I'll work on it. Yeah.
It would be impressive if you did. Okay, so meanwhile, they see some of these sea locusts floating in the air, and Book demonstrates that he's able to get some of them to move aside because they're sort of like swarming as they move through. But he says like it's not. He doesn't make them move. He just asks them if they would. And as they're doing that, they're then captured by whom? By Kahim and his fellows. And
Does
also,
seem very Robin Hood, doesn't it?
yeah, they're like, he's like, put your hands up. They've got us.
I almost, for a second, I thought there was going to be some sort of net that would pull them up.
I was waiting for some sort of rustic Lost Boys, Robin Hood, Peter Pan trap. But instead they just showed up with guns. And
It was sort of an arrow thing.
it was,
kind of
it
shot out.
was like a shot out an arrow. It seemed like a non, what do you call it? Not non-mortal.
Lethal?
Non-lethal weapon, yes.
Like a wee crossbow thingy.
A wee crossbow that I guess just knocks you out. Maybe it's just like a tranquilizer, you know? Pew, 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 pew,
Pew, pew, pew, pew.
Also, book is called by Kahim Tarex, which apparently he says, you don't call me that anymore. My name's Book. But it's an interesting little thing to think about because we never really get the story on that. While they're being captured, Georgiou is going bonkers under her scan, and she's having one of her episodes, and her vitals are off the charts. And also, as the doctors are watching her in the like weird film that she's in, her face is distorting all spiky and weirdly, which is super creepy. And they're like, "What the what?" And then she gets through the scan and wakes up, and she immediately storms out angrily. And she also steals one of the scanners that they used to scan her to do some research of her own. Back down to Kwaijan, Book and Kahim argue. And basically we find out that what Kahim wanted was for Book to show up because Ossyra wanted Book to give them Rin because Rin had been one of the prisoners that escaped from Hun Hao. Excuse me. If they don't get Rin to Ossyra, then Ossyra won't give them the repellent. They need the repellent in order to repel the sea locusts who apparently eat all the crops. And if they eat all the crops, then the society will starve and collapse. And so this is part of the story of how the chain is leveraging various worlds and cultures after the burn who need their technology or things that they can provide since they're unable to move about the stars themselves. However, Book refuses to sell Rin back into slavery, and so they reach an impasse. At that moment, the Viridian arrives, or the opposite, and Ossyra... Yes, and it scans Discovery, and Discovery scans it, and then it get hailed by Ossyra, and Ossyra's like, "Hey, what's up, Saru?" And Saru's like, "Hey, what's up, Ossyra?" And Ossyra's like, "Yo, give me Rin." And Saru's like, "No, I'm not gonna give you Rin." She's like, "He's a wanted man. You gonna hold him away from me?" And he's like, "No. But seriously though, how is he wanted? Nothing that the Federation has told me means that he's wanted." And she's like, "Oh yeah, well he signed a contract with us and he broke that contract." And Saru's like, "Hey, that's slavery." And she's like, "Slavery? What are you talking about?" And he's like, "I'm surprised that the Orions would believe in slavery since they were slaves themselves." And she's like, "We believe that suffering has no nobility to it. You have 5 minutes to give me Rin or I'm gonna blow you out of the sky." That's basically their conversation in a nutshell.
Well done. That was a good summary.
Thank you. After that impasse, 2 impasses going on now, Ossyra contacts Kahim directly via like a hologram, and she's now saying, "Okay, you can't get me Rin. He's on that ship. You brought the Federation with you. So give me Book and whoever's down there with the Federation for leverage." Now, despite the fact that there seems to be some serious enmity between Kahim and Book / Tarex because of Book's absence for the last 15 years, and also Kahim apparently working as a transworm poacher for the chain because the payment for the repellent was transworms. Kahim is not eager to turn over Book to Ossyra for her purposes. So Ossyra's like, "Fine, then I'll just bombard your sanctuary.
Sanctuary!
Every minute I will burn 10 hectares or something like that of forest."
Heptakers?
Heptakers?
I think you were right the first time. I don't think I was right.
I should have written it down, but I
Fun
chose
fact.
not to. Yes.
Do you know which planet that is a measurement of land of?
No.
Bajoran. Bajora. Bajora.
Bajor.
Bajor. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was like, it's
No, it's all
Bajoran.
right.
Bajoran.
Bajoran.
Yes.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Should
I
say
didn't put that together, rather.
Yes.
Well,
in fact, you
hello.
should have put it together because that is, I think that came from Deep Space Nine.
Oh, yeah, it's Deep Space Nine all over the place. Bajor is Bajor. Also, Ractigino. All right.
I'll look that up. Heptic. Oh, never mind. I think that's quite a weird thing to look up.
I can
don't think I
Google
find
it
that.
later. We'll, write in with your angry letters. Dear sir or madam. It is hepatapticals. Okay. So while the hepatapticals are being attacked by the Viridian, Book and Burnham flee. But I think they're fleeing to try and fix the defenses of the sanctuary, as opposed to like get away from Kahim. And meanwhile, on Disco, Saru is wondering, why does Ossyra want Rin so very badly? And Rin's like, well, I happen to know something that could give us leverage. And they're like, what is it? And he's like, I won't tell. So, I guess they're like, okay, well, Ossyra's firing on the planet. Michael's still down there. We can't get in contact through the defenses of the sanctuary. Sanctuary! And thus, we go to Red Alert.
Red alert!
Thanks, Dad.
It's been a while. Thanks, Steph's dad. Georgiou, just as the Red Alert is being sounded, has like hacked into one of the terminals and hacked into the sensor and sees what's going on with her brain scan and sees that it means, I guess she determines that it's mortal and she's going to die. But Culber, she's Red Alert. She like turns around and she goes, Michael, like she's about to do something, ill-advised and off the books and probably deadly, as she's done in every episode, to pretty great effect every time she gets involved, but less and less as she goes through these things where she loses time. But Culber confronts her with two security officers and is like, oh, no, you can't go out there. You'll be a liability to Michael. And she says, I'm going to die. And he says, it's, quote, it's not that cut and dry. And then they go and talk. Dun, 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 mystery. We have no idea what goes on there. Book and Michael are running. They still can't contact Disco. Disco can't find any weaknesses in the Viridian ship. Rin then offers to help. He's like, I know the weaknesses of the ship, but Disco can't engage without creating a sort of diplomatic incident, like basically setting the Federation to war with the Emerald Chain. So Tilly suggests
Emerald Chain.
The Emerald Chain. Tilly suggests that perhaps their main pilot go rogue with a ship that is not Discovery and attack the ship, looking at Detmer, wink, wink, winkety wink, and thinking about Book's ship, wink, wink, winkety wink, and looking at Rin, wink, wink, winkety wink. And Detmer looks back at her and looks a little unsure, then is like, I can do this. So, next page. Detmer and Rin take on the Viridian in Book's ship, which I don't think has a name. I did a quick Google of it and couldn't figure it out. He just refers to it as my ship.
Yeah, I don't recall the name either.
Yeah, I'll look deeper in one of the wikis or something and see if there's something about that. But while that's happening, Book and Michael get surrounded once again by Kahim's people, and they're about to be taken captive again, but they are knocked to the ground by the explosions caused by the photon torpedoes of the Viridians' bombardment of the sanctuary. Sanctuary! And that manages to give everyone... so they fight. They're like... fighting with guns, pick up the punch, kick, double hand, boom, boom, boom.
Do we have favorite? No.
Yeah,
Never mind.
Stuff happens.
I haven't used these ones for a while. We're working on it.
But they're still great. I just love to hear them. So meanwhile on Book's ship, they've been taking on the Viridian themselves, like sort of like a gnat, like a mosquito, and they're attacking it, but there's no real result. And Rin is telling Detmer, just keep at it. You're definitely harming the ship. But then their shields are down to 10%, and Rin is like, I think we should retreat because we're about to get destroyed. And Detmer says they have to stay there because Michael's not clear, so they have to stay there until Michael can get out of the attack radius. And Rin's like, you sure you want to do this? And Detmer says, if you can face something, you can beat it. And then she switches to full manual mode. And also Grudge the cat jumps into Rin's lap, and he freaks out because he doesn't know what a cat is. And then they destroy the weapons platform or like weapons generating systems of the Viridian and cause it to be dead in the water. That is happening as Kahim finds Book and Michael, and then Kahim and Book fight, like total brother fight, like on the ground, meow, 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 you know, awkward, like just short of like pulling each other's shirts up and
Giving someone a
snot on-
wedgie.
Exactly, yeah. It was that kind of fight. Eventually, Kahim gets the upper hand, and Book distracts him, and then Book gets the upper hand, and then they both get up, and then Book's like, I know what you want. I know that Ossyra is going to want me and Michael, and he's like, you know what? Turn me over. If you want to betray me, brother, then go ahead and do it. And Kahim does the whole, I can't do it thing. And then they look up to see what's going on. They can actually see the dogfight in space of Book's ship and the Viridian. And Kahim says, well, we'll starve if I don't give her over to you. And he goes, my son. And Book says, you have a son? Because it's been 15 years since he had been back to the planet. Anyway, Ossyra's dead in the water. They decide to stand down. They retreat, but not before Ossyra says, you will pay for this next time, Discovery. And you know what? I got some real, like, Khan vibes from Ossyra. Anyway, I was kind of into it. It was, like, just smart and malevolent and heartless, and hopefully there will be a time when Ossyra, my dream, I'll say this for tinfoil time. Okay, so
We still haven't got an FX for that.
I have one here. I just haven't recorded it because it's going to take some zhuzhing. So anyway,
We're at episode 8, so get on it.
Well, what do you want me to do? I'm not a genius. Kahim believes that the people will starve because even though he is also an empath / space druid like Book, the two of them together still wouldn't be strong enough to contact all the many, many, many sea locusts and get them to go back to the sea. However, Michael says, I have a plan. And they use Discovery's deflector disc to boost the signal of their empathic powers. This is real science. And that allows the two brothers facing each other to chant, and their heads glow, and they talk to all the locusts on the planet and send them back into the ocean. And Quotable is saved. Done. And so we get a few last scenes. Detmer, who's been so shaky since the beginning of the season, is at the table just being super macho, like, yeah, then I went full whatever, and I blew that ship up, and it was great. Rin told me where to shoot, and I just shot, man. All right. Which I enjoyed. Rin is alone, but he does give like a thumbs up, like that's true. Tilly comes over and says, hey, you're a hero, so stop being a sad Andorian. And he says, listen, I got to tell you something. And he tells her the secret. What is the secret? The secret is the Emerald Chain. The secret is the Emerald Chain. They're about to run out of dilithium too. And only Rin knew that. And now Tilly does.
Got another bar.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah. So
There you go.
once you're done gasping at that, we also get a final scene with Booker, Michael, Kahim, and his son Leto. And they're walking through the corridors, and that's basically where they sort of are patching things up. Book mentions to Kahim that even though Disco is not his home, he does like being there. He wants to be in a place that makes a difference. Quotable will always be his home, but he's thinking about hanging out with them where they can change things in the galaxy. Michael is surprised at this information, but leaves with Leto. And then Book promises to explain his change of name to Kahim some other time. And the brothers...
I'm going to force you into this.
Oh, yeah. Book says, yeah, there's a story to my name, Kahim. But maybe I'll tell it to you some other time. Yeah. And hey, Michael, I think I'm going to stick around for a while. Because I like being here with you. Aw, yeah. That's all.
I was really like controlling.
You did a great
the
job.
fader there. Yeah, I
Between the
enjoyed
two of
that.
us, we're
Yeah.
making Star Trek slow jams.
We're making nerd jams
Nerd jams.
all the way.
That's basically it. There's one last little final super cute, super Frakesy scene where Adira has fallen asleep because they've been working on the algorithms all night, and Stamets is standing around, and Culber shows up and goes, "Oh, you guys are burning the midnight oil," and then Culber and Stamets discuss Adira and that Gray has left, but that they're so proud that they have been like working on the algorithm, doing so great. And then Adira's like, "I'm awake." And then they're like, the work is done. Adira, oh yeah, Stamets puts his coat on Adira. So cute. Yeah.
Because Adira's like slumped
yeah.
over sleeping.
Yes, exactly. But it's just cute. I just loves it so much.
No, it was very sweet.
Adira and their new dads.
Yeah,
their two dads.
exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, there's definitely like a dad moment, and they talk about that in the ready room.
Oh, they do? Great. Because it's who could think
Super
of two
cute.
two better dads? Anyway,
The best.
yeah. They're yin and yang. And that is episode 8 of season 3 of Star Trek Discovery Sanctuary. Sanctuary. Okay, so I have some weird theories.
Okay.
Art thou ready to hear? Oh, hold on. Let me just.
Art thou ready for tinfoil time?
Anyway, that's the beginning of the sound. I don't know how much of that came through from the keyboard directly. There's all this like reverb and weird stuff in there that I'm.
Yep.
Anyway, these are thoughts that I'm having. One, I would like a relationship that Kirk and Khan have to develop between Ossyra and Michael. I think it's so ready because Ossyra hates books so much, and Michael loves books so much. And imagine Ossyra like kidnaps Book in one of these episodes or something, or like tortures him. Oh man, Michael would be so mad, and you would have a whole Wrath of Khan, but it would be Wrath of Ossyra or something. Anyway, that's a dream. Doesn't have to come to fruition. You don't have to listen to me. Oh, high and mighty writers of Star Trek Discovery, just keep it in mind. I think Georgiou, based on what we saw for the next time, I feel like Georgiou has some weird way of like escaping death, but I wonder if it involves like going back to the Terran Empire or something like that. What do you think?
I don't know about the escaping death, but the clip
Oh,
that
do you have some? You know something?
I have some knowledge.
Hit us.
So the clip that we see, and an exclusive clip that we see is about. So the next episode is all Georgiou, and one thing that we see is Glasses. Your favorite friend Glasses comes back.
Glasses comes back.
David Cronenberg comes
Yes.
back. Yes, and he has a chat with Dr. Culber, and they surmise, if you like, that Georgiou has not only like jumped through time, but has also jumped a dimension, and she is only the second person to have done that in the history of time travel as they
Sure.
know it.
Right.
And I think, and then there's a really interesting part where they show a hologram of the only other being that has done this before,
Yeah.
and they show them in a Star Trek Next Generation uniform.
Dun 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 yada, 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 yada.
And it's not a character we're familiar with.
Oh, interesting.
But it's like, it's that kind of awkward series, like season 1 or 2, that kind of zip-up uniform that they didn't like.
Because there's only one character I know who has done that.
Who's that?
I just can't imagine they'd be bringing back. Tasha Yar?
No, it's not Tasha Yar.
Okay.
It was like, it's sort of it's an alien.
Oh,
from
it's
another-
not a non-standard humanoid
Non-human.
alien?
Yeah. It's humanoid, but it's,
Has
not
jumped
like...
universes and time.
Yeah.
It's not Wesley.
No.
Will Wheaton himself.
Will Wheaton. Wheaton.
It's not Tasha Yar, even though she
Quip.
did do some time
Nope. Nope, nope, nope.
moving around.
Nope, nope.
And I think that had to do with the mirror universe. But hey, whatever. I don't
Anyway,
need to
the
be
point
right
is that her atoms are at war with each other because they are battling with cross universe and also cross time.
So it's like quantum entangled. The strings inside the atoms
Yes.
dancing in strange ways. Boobity-boo-boo-boo.
Blah,
That's
blah,
interesting. Okay. Well, you say that the next episode, I mean, the next episode is a part 1.
Oh, is it?
It's a TBC record. It's a TBC episode. To be continued.
TBC. Oh, funsies.
I think. Methinks. What else? But you think Book is we're gonna see Book? Oh God, can you imagine?
Book
We're
with
gonna
his
see
shirt
Book.
off again?
Well, of course we'll see Book with his shirt off again.
I don't
It's
know.
it's
Why
only
not?
happened
Naturally.
2 or 3 times. It needs to happen at least once more. But Book in the Discovery uniform, looking smart.
I
in
don't
his
know.
Blue and gold.
Do you think?
Well, he says "aye, aye" at the end of this episode, and she says "one eye," and he goes, "Yes, I know." But it seems like he wants to stick around, and she says, "You need to talk to Saru about your intentions." Maybe he gets a, little. Anyway, I would not be mad about it.
I mean, would he sort of take on a, consultant capacity kind of role
Yeah, he'd be like Guinan.
and may not have to wear the Star Trek uniform?
I guess, but he should have to wear it. I mean, come on.
Sorry, the Federation uniform.
Yeah, he should. It's not even. It's the Discovery Special Science Vessel uniform. It's not even a
is true.
normal Federation
No.
standard issue.
Not anymore, it isn't.
True, but even in their original time, like the more conventional clothing that we saw from
Oh, that's true. It's more
TOS was
from-
worn by Pike and
Pike,
Number
yeah.
One and Admiral Cornwell. Look at that.
Good job. Good
Thank you.
job. It's
I
only
almost
taken
said
2
Catwall.
seasons, 2.5
Yeah.
seasons.
I can't do it. I hope they never bring that character back. It's too confusing for me.
Cornwell.
Cornwell. They all wore
Cornwell.
conventional suits. I feel like Discovery has those special suits because it was a science vessel, very specifically. And not a exploratory vessel or a war vessel.
True. Very possibly.
I would have to
I can't
think
remember
back
why.
on.
I'll have to get into some serious
No,
nerd
that
shit
may
for
not
that.
be true because the Shenzhou also had the same uniforms, if I'm recalling. But was that a science vessel? Anyway, these are things I will Google in my free time.
Naturally. These are the things
any,
that we text each other about.
That's right. Where you text me during daylight hours and I text you 18 hours later, 4 or
At
5
like
a.m.
3 in the morning, yeah.
When I'm thinking at my best. To be honest. Okay, so any quotable moment?
Quotable. Let me just do the
You
thing.
do it so well, though.
Quotable moments.
Yeah, you're like
Quotable moments.
you have your pitch perfect.
I know. Well, I did it off the cuff as I do every time.
Off the cuff.
Off the cuff. My favourite has to be, and naturally there's always going to be a Georgiou comment. For such a warm and fuzzy human, you've got very cold hands. But it was more about her delivery.
Yes, I also like the Georgiou quote from that scene because she says 930 years of medical advancements and you still need fancy equipment to deconstruct me. I could deconstruct both of you with a snappy insult and a withering gaze. I want that on a cup.
Oh, that's too good.
That's heavy. That's great stuff.
I could give you that in a cup. We could arrange for
Okay,
that.
no, I shouldn't have said that in
More
front of you
cups.
because I know you're just
Oh,
making
put it in a
cups.
cup.
You gone cup crazy.
I make cups.
I did enjoy that Detmer quote too. If you can face something, you can beat it. Even though it's super macho and kind of not at all how I live my life, but I dug that.
Yeah,
It's a good-
it's very pilot.
It's very, you can see the kind of captain Detmer would be. In the sort of Pike vein.
Yes.
Detmer would have a real hit it, punch it, let's stand up to this, honorable but gutsy.
Yeah.
Not, and also, as we said, Saru's thing is carry on. So whatever, that's good for Saru.
Indeed.
Remember that he can shoot darts out of his head. So,
Yeah.
walk softly but carry a big stick, as they say.
Indeed. No, I did enjoy the thread of trying to figure out Saru's command.
Yes, I thought that
That
was
was quite fun.
super great and total Frakes touch. So handled so well within a bunch of heavy stuff. It happens, and this was another, for everyone's complaints about Discovery. This was a classic Star Trek style episode, even though they still have their overarching themes, But this was an encapsulated, we go to this planet, we fix a thing at this planet kind of thing. You know? So, shut up already to those who dislike it.
All right.
That's all I have to say. Shall we move on to next time?
Next time on Set Phasers.
Next time on Set Phasers, we'll probably hear the book theme again. God, I hope we do. And maybe I'll release that as a single. I don't know. As I was telling Steph before the show, it's my best work. It's the sexiest thing I've ever written.
With the ad-libbing on the top, it certainly is.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I could do that all day.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. So next time on Set Phasers, we will be discussing episode 9 of season 3, which is entitled Terra Firma Part 1. So get ready for a cliffhanger. Get ready to be upset. I'll be mad for a week after it. Ooh, Activate's not bad. Oh, Cindy, these are great ideas.
Great
Launch.
idea, Cindy.
Activate is very surreal.
Activate. I like
Yeah.
that. I'm
like-
into it.
Activate. I can
Activate.
see him saying carry on, and then like he like just crosses his legs Picard style, you know. Anyway, activate.
With my cup of Earl Grey.
Activate number 1. Oh, sorry, I'm supposed to say things. Anyway, that's what's happening next week. Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed the program, you can catch us every Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Facebook Live, or you can catch us as a podcast every Monday, wherever podcasts come from. Please subscribe.
Please do. We are on Facebook at Set Phasers, and of course on Instagram as well at Set Phasers Podcast. Feel free to follow along and join in conversation of all things Trek.
And if you want to support us directly in our continuing mission to discover what Discovery has in store for us, we'd only be delighted. You can patronize us, we can take it, by going to patreon.com/setphasers. Along those lines, Steph, we have something special planned this weekend, do we not?
Yes, this weekend we have a Netflix watch party on Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern, and we are going to watch together, you, me, Aki, and our Patreon community are going to watch TNG, the Unification Parts 1 and 2 from Next Generation that preceded Unification 3, the previous
Which was the last
episode.
episode. Yes.
Yes.
We're gonna precede the preceding episode with
Yep.
the 2 episodes that preceded.
Yeah. 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 That was what I had to say. Oh, yeah. And right now it's me. So thank you very much for listening. And until next time, I'm Steph Mans.
And I'm Aki Burmese, and this has been Set Phasers, a highly illogical, Star Trek podcast.
I'm so paying attention. Computer. End program. Oh,
Warner
the
Bros.
buttons. The
You
buttons.
gotta